everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I'm Molly Johnner, your host. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to two of the most amazing women, who's Mallory McMore, who is the founder and CEO of Stell Engineering, and Laura Amatai, who is graduated from HBS as well, and also all things engineering.
Yeah, my experience with tooling was so similar at both of the roles I was in. And actually, in my role at Airbus, I was working directly with suppliers. I would live on site for like 6 to 8 months at a company. So I didn't just see two companies, I saw 10. And I saw most of the software stacks were Excel based or tools that had been made in the 60s or 70s. There was actually a tool at Airbus that was still in German, but it was like a codified version of German. So then you had to learn what all of the commands meant so you could type them back into the command line and actually get the files on that older aircraft. So
That's
Airbus
crazy. I'm sorry. I
had,
want to pause there for a second. Like that actually kind of blows my mind, but keep going.
yeah, we did have updated systems for the newer aircraft, but a reality of my job was learning how to use that system from, the guys that were on my team. They taught me how to use it. And I think I saw it as like a fun challenge at the time, but also kind of shocking because I grew up from age 5 with a computer. And if you handed me any software, I could just figure it out. But if it's in German, that's probably not going to be the case. And then I think beyond that, I really just saw a lot of manual workflows like, let me put this into a PDF, let me make an Excel sheet. I ultimately needed to get things done. So I would just brute force, what do we need for this meeting? Let's make it, let's document it, let's make it happen. But the systems, they were very rigid and you had to know exactly what to type in to be able to use them. Another another role that I had, I won't talk about what I was building because it was somewhat classified, but we were seeing defects with every unit in the factory. So this was costing us $1 million every single week, this problem.
Whoa.
And I'm investigating it. I was the senior quality assurance engineer on the program, and I was investigating it for 6 months. And I ended up going into a technical fellows office. So this is an engineer that has been at the company for 30 years. They have seen everything. They are, a technical expert. And he goes, I saw this exact problem 15 years ago. And then he emails me all of the files showing the work they did. And it was so similar to all the tests I had been running, all the data I was looking at. The root cause analysis was the same. And I never forgot that. When I was at Harvard, I could not stop thinking about if I had just had access to search for the keywords related to the defect I was seeing and actually see you call them job travelers when they document what the hardware has gone through in the factory, or just the fundamental like systems engineering behind the designs at the time, we could have figured this out so much faster, save money. People were like quitting this program because it was so frustrating that we could not solve this problem. And the engineers had already done it. They were super
Did
smart.
they have
And
to
we
write
just,
their 2 weeks in German, or was it fine?
this one was all in English,
Okay.
thankfully. But I don't know if that made this any easier. It,
Oh my
it
God.
was a crazy time. And so that is what really led me to found Stell later on after business school and still work on it today. Whenever I have a hard day at Stell, I think about that and myself back in 2018. And I'm like, that's who I'm building for. That's why you don't give up, even when it gets hard, because there is a real challenge here and we can make aerospace engineers days better at these jobs.
Yeah, I also feel like it's almost like a reckoning is happening in the industry too. So I think like before, like a lot of people that I work with that were at Northrop forever, was always like, this is it, you can't change it. Like this is just the way government contracting is. This is just the way the company is. And I feel like SpaceX came out of nowhere. Like not, we're gonna separate like Elon Musk and SpaceX right now, but SpaceX came out of nowhere and they basically like redid everything. They almost redefined the entire industry, the way we test, the way we build, the way we interact with the government. And I think like it was so good for just getting people to understand that like this can be disrupted in some way or another. Like it probably needs to be disrupted in more ways than one. Still, like things are not perfect yet, but building hardware takes forever. So the disruption will take a little bit of time. But it was like so great to see that like SpaceX ended up paying off. It was a huge risk, and like it's the highest market cap in the world, company the highest market cap in the world. It's like actually insane. And I think it's brought a lot of people to the industry. It's created more engineers that have the talent. So like the defense industry was slowing down for a while, and they weren't hiring anyone. They had no people to even meet the programs, and we kind of had less. Thank God, due to geopolitical stability, there's less of a need. And then out of nowhere, there was this need and no people. And I feel like SpaceX like reinvigorated just like the talent market as well. To all these people that were like trained in this new way of building things that were looking to solve like other problems, and like brought in so many more investors, and like we could talk about like all the space startups and everything, but I feel like it's just gotten people more excited. I think there's still problems with investing in space, and Mallory and I both took the same space class. I took it 2 years after. So Matt Weinzierl, he's like #2 at HBS. He's like, he just wrote I forgot his book's name, he's gonna kill me. um he has a space
Shout
book.
out if you're watching.
Yes, shout out Matt, we love you.
Space to grow.
Space to grow. There we go. Thank you. Space to grow. And he taught this class at HBS, and it was not just people who worked in space, but also people who were interested in working at space. And it was like really interesting to look at space from like an economist perspective. We're both engineers. I think it's really easy to get back in the weeds of actually building stuff more so than thinking about markets. And this investment came in, and then you had like early companies like Firefly come out, which they did exit, they did IPO, but it wasn't like as fruitful as people expected. And I think it's just more of people were kind of like jumping the wheel, and not in terms of just wanting to invest in things without having other things in place, other things being like the right software stacks. SpaceX has built all their software stacks internally so that the back end, I'm like, my friends at SpaceX got me very excited about how they build things. I haven't worked there, but like you can look up anything in their back end. All their data is available. UX/UI is great. They have great like testing software. And the issue is because SpaceX built all this internally, all of their founders that used to work there don't have these tools, and they need to rebuild them from the ground up. And I think it's a great time for like all these software for hardware startups to kind of enter, fill this gap that doesn't exist, because you're not going to fill it with doors. That's what we're trying to redo and make better and easier. It also brings more investors, gets them less scared, because software is built for the venture capitalist investment model.
Dare we say unicorn?
We could talk.
Do we say that word? I don't know if we should.
My hot take is I don't think space companies should be called unicorns at $1 billion, because it takes over $1 billion of money to even build something to test, let alone get something that's operational and cash generating. But that's like a whole other discussion. I think it's like a fancy buzzword. I think like if you're a person who does your own analysis, you understand that just because you have $1 billion, the $1 billion valuation as this hardware company doesn't mean, yeah.
When I said that, you both were like this. Like it was like all of a sudden it was like an instant trigger, which is why I said it.
Yeah.
That's true, right? And I know you both have walked through like getting investing for hardware and now software and hardware, and that's a whole thing into itself.
Yeah, we need to do a whole episode on
yeah.
investing in hardware and the valuations. Yeah. It's exciting though. I think the shift that SpaceX made happen is valuing and honoring the engineer. Because I think up until SpaceX was founded, we went through an era of hardware engineering was really diminished in the US. It's controversial. Mark Andreessen has been talking about this. I grew up studying math and science in Alabama. I did not apply to Ivy League colleges. I was not on track to go to tech. You get kind of funneled into this, for better or worse, like the word I use for it is paperwork engineering job, because we weren't able to build things anymore. There was so much red tape, so much bureaucracy. It was all about maintaining what had been built and was excellent in kind of the 1970s to 2000s. The idea of being able to, hey, I'm going to solve this problem in the next week. I need these materials. I need this software. That just did not exist in the kind of careers we were funneled into. And Elon Musk and SpaceX come about, and they actually hired the most talented, the most driven, the most scrappy engineers. And it, I think, has reinvigorated an era of being a hardware engineer. And, all of these hard tech startups, I do think it's an uphill battle. I do think it can feel difficult to like these tech investors in some ways, but it is rebuilding our industrial base. It's rebuilding studying math and science in service of actually building an end product like a
Yeah.
nuclear reactor or a new train station, something that actually makes people's lives a lot better other than like another, video content app, which I think that stuff is great too. I'm building a software company. I love software, but yeah, I was a hardware engineer for 10, I worked in a factory for 10 years and I never felt celebrated or fancy or any of that. And I think that's actually happening now, and that's so wonderful.